Hi everyone, welcome back to Winging It. My name's Rebecca. If you're new here, you're very welcome, and if you're a regular, welcome back. It's week 51, and if you've been watching over on Instagram, you'll know that our prompt this week is Evergreens. We're going to be getting festive in the run up to Christmas. I thought as it's such a busy time of year, we'd all appreciate something quite straightforward this week, so we're going to be doing some really simple applique. I'm going to be using our metallic fabrics and threads again, following our theme for the month, and we'll be using some of our December stitches. Now, if you're not sure about our string stitches that we're exploring through December, don't worry, because I will link a video as we go along so that you can go and learn some of those stitches to add them to your work. I've put a list of everything you're going to need in the description below, so do check that out. Gather all your bits and pieces and let's get stitching. So my first idea was to just create a Christmas tree. With the prompt of evergreen, it seemed like a really obvious option, and I thought we could do quite a simple applique tree shape and then perhaps use our string stitches to create some garlands and decorations on the tree, and maybe add some beads as baubles and things like that. And I did that and I thought it looked quite plain, so I wondered about adding some extra strings of stitches to create some garlands, hanging garlands, just to fill in that space around the tree. But I thought it was quite basic, a little bit obvious, and once again there didn't seem to be a lot of opportunity for string stitches beyond those garlands. It just seemed a bit empty, and so I decided to park this one. Now, excuse this sketch, I didn't really know how to communicate it, but my second idea was to create almost like a close-up of a Christmas tree, and I've sort of sketched it as fly stitch here, but I thought we could use maybe scroll stitch to create some pine branches in the background and lay a layer of those down, just quite scattered around the panel, quite haphazard, and then use our string stitches to add garlands over the top and perhaps add some beads again. I quite liked the idea of doing something quite abstract and stylised, but again I just didn't think that this really worked as a design. I thought it was going to look too chaotic and haphazard. I was really pleased with our star from last week and really loved the way we used our string stitches. This is just me pinning my panels together ready to stitch them. I really like the way we used our string stitches almost like a sampler to create that vapour trail, and I thought it might be nice to echo that in the bottom left hand corner, which is where our panel's going to be. And so I've sketched out quite a stylised landscape, put in some sweeps to represent hills, and I thought we could add our string stitches in a similar way to last week at the bottom in different metallic threads. And then maybe we could create some tree shapes, just simple triangles out of our metallic fabrics, and lay those in the background almost like a stylised pine forest looking over hills. We've talked a lot about landscapes during Winging It, and I haven't really done very many, even though they're really my thing. So this one really inspired me, and I thought this one was the one I was going to go for. I'm going to make it up as I go along because I don't really know how it's going to work, but I do quite like it. So let's have a play and see what we come up with. So I've started out by sketching on my hills onto this dark green felt. I don't know whether the camera will pick up that it's green. These dark colours are really difficult to catch on camera. It's a lovely sort of cold evergreen bluish forest green that I really love. And I've put in my border and sketched in my hills, and that's going to give me a bit of a guide about where I'm going to place my trees. If you're not sure how to do this, I will put a link in the corner of the screen so that you can go to last week's video and see the approach that I took. I've also got some metallic fabrics here. I've got this green lame, and if you've been with me since June when we did green, you'll know that this is the bane of my life, but I love it so much. There's something about metallic green that just makes me make very poor decisions because I love it. You can see it's just shredding away, and when you stitch it, your needle will tend to push out fibres, but I love it, so I'm going to just deal with it. I've also got some of this spider's web. Now this is quite a bright green. It's not picking up on camera, but it just looks silver on camera. It is green, and this is another material that I absolutely love. It's a kind of lace, but it's just fibres that are meshed together and tangled together. I've got no idea how it's made. I just love it, so I really want to use some of that in there. I've got some ribbon, some satin ribbon. This is dark green. Again, it looks black on camera, but I don't know if I'll use that, but I thought it was nice. I've also got this gift ribbon that I got a present in many years ago, and I'm not bothered so much about this gold bit, but I thought this red and green bit with the gold accents would be really nice as just a pop of a different colour in amongst our trees, so I thought we could make use of that. And I've also got this stuff that I picked out last week. This is a kind of organza. You might be able to just pick up. It's quite a strange texture. It's more open, almost like net, and it's got this metallic green shimmer to it that I really like, and I thought that would be a nice light tone to add into our design. So I don't know how that's going to handle when it's cut, but I thought it might add something a bit different. And I've also gone ahead and melted some of the green lame and some of that mesh organza. The organza didn't cope with being melted. I seem to have created a little face there because it just created holes immediately. But I thought it looked quite interesting anyway when it was melted, and it just adds a little bit of a different texture for us to add to our design. You can see the difference there between the melted one. It's much lumpier, and it's almost sort of concentrated the shimmer a little bit. And I've also melted some lame, and this has created just a delightful texture, all knobbly and bobbly. Really love it, and it's going to look so different to that flat lame. I think that's just going to add a little bit more interest. So this is going to be all about textures, really. I've got my beeswax because that's an essential for using oh, my candle's gone out. How disappointing. Oh well, never mind. So I've got some metallic threads. This is my metallic gold machine thread that I used a couple of weeks ago, and I've got a green version, and it's just a joy, this one. It's so shiny. Absolutely love it. Don't know what it is about these metallic greens that just make me go bonkers, but I want to use that. I've got some red light effects. So this is just like the other light effects. It's got that texture on it. This is DMC E815. So it's the 815 shade, red shade, but in the metallic version. So I've got some of that. I thought that might echo the red in this ribbon and might add another nice little pop of colour. I've got the white light effects that we've used already. I've got a green light effects here. That's E699 DMC again. And I've got this stuff that I found at Hobbycraft. It is just lovely. And if you're not enjoying using metallic threads, this is a great option. It's their special moulin etoile, and it's like a 6-strand cotton. It's much more loosely woven, but I'm hoping you can see it's got, you can see the 6 strands there. It's got glitter woven all the way through it, and it behaves much more like a normal embroidery thread. If I bring it up close, you should be able to see much better. It's just like a normal embroidery thread. It's got a sort of texture to it, which I really like, but it's got that lovely sparkle all the way through. So this one is just, it's C699, and it is just like sewing with normal embroidery thread. So this is the one you're looking for. It's the one with the gold and silver label, and they haven't got a massive range of colours in it, but there are some really nice ones. So that's my threads. and I thought we could start with our trees. So I'm going to get my cutting mat out. Now don't worry, I'm going to use a rotary cutter, but you could do this just with scissors. I've got a steel edge ruler because I have destroyed many a ruler by going wild with a rotary cutter. And I'm just going to make some triangle shapes. Now most cutting mats have got angles marked, and you could use those, but I just want to eyeball this. I don't want them to be regular. I just want triangles of different shapes and sizes. So I'm just going to take my rotary cutter across in various ways. I want some big, some small, and I'm just going to make a little collection of triangle tree shapes so that we can put those in the background. So I'm just playing around with lots of different angles. I want some tall and thin, some more squat, and I'm just gonna chop up each fabric into some triangles so that I've got a collection to play around with. So I've got all my triangles now, and I'm just going to lay them out to create an arrangement that I like. So I'm only obviously going to use the very tip of this triangle, but I just want to lay them out and make an arrangement that I'm happy with. So we're going to trim the bottoms up to the line very shortly. I'm just going to try and balance the fabrics, make a good mixture right across my line. I'm going to do this top line on camera. If I just show you how to do it on this top line, and then we can do the bottom line. You can see the shimmer there. So I'm just trying to arrange the fabrics so that they're nicely balanced. I've put in a couple of extra ones there because I just didn't think it was varied enough. I'm going to get a really fine and very sharp needle because I don't want to damage the fabric. I'm going to use this metallic green machine silk to stitch them down, and before I do anything I'm just going to take a photo of the design because I don't want to forget the arrangement that I've decided I'm happy with. So I'm just taking a quick photo of that so that I can refer back to it later. It's quite a good tip. It also helps you with your composition as well. So now I can take these off because I've got a photo record. I'm leaving that first green one on because that's the first one I'm going to stitch. I'm going to keep them roughly in order, and then I'm just going to stitch them down. And we learnt last week that the fewer stitches you use, the better your life will be when working with metallic fabrics. So I'm just going to hold that down with my thumb. I'm not going to pin it because that's just asking for trouble. And I'm just going to go up the left hand side and down the right, and I'm not going to worry about the bottom because my stitching is going to cover that up. So I'm just going to do tiny little stab stitches. I do bring it further up the screen in a moment. Tiny little stab stitches about 1 centimetre apart, just enough to hold that triangle down. Just being really careful, and the sharp fine needle is going to help to avoid destroying the lame. When I've stitched it down, I'm going to slide my embroidery scissors underneath and use the blade to guide myself. So I've just lined the blade up with the line of the hills and cut the bottom off there. So I can get rid of that. That goes in my little scraps bucket that I've got. And I'm just going to stitch all of my trees on in the same way. So I'm going to stitch one on and then line my scissor blades along the hill line and cut off the bottom so that I've got a neat finish at the bottom that follows the line. I've got my red one on there. You can see the shimmer. If I bring it up close, you can see all the little fibres everywhere. That's just what happens when you're using metallics. So really lovely and shimmery. And I'm going to put in the rest of those trees and then we'll come back and look at the next stage. So that's all my trees on, and you can see I've trimmed along the bottom, just along the line of the hills, and I've tried to vary it as much as I can. Got some of that textured lame, some flat, lots of shimmer, lots of texture. I love those spider's web trees that are just barely there, that just give a hint. I think it's lovely. So now we're going to add some stitching. I'm going to start with this lovely mullein that I don't know where that single strands come from. It'll all sort itself out eventually, but again we're going to find the end that's at the bottom by the number on the label, and I'm just going to pull from there, and it will not tangle at all as long as we use the right end. So I'm just going to take a length of that, and I'm going to separate it out. So I'm going to split it in half. There are 6 strands here. I'm just going to take 3. So I'm going to split those threads apart by just pulling gently, and I'm not going to worry about beeswax with this one because it is a really flexible fabric. You can use it if you want to, but I'm not going to worry about it because this thread behaves itself. So I thought we could start with a palestrina stitch, and to make this you come up at the very top of your line. I'm going to come down the line that I'm stitching just a little way and make a horizontal stitch across that line from right to left, and that makes a little vertical stitch there. I'm going to slide my needle underneath from right to left and pull through, and that creates a little V at the bottom, and I'm going to go round and come top to bottom through that V and out above that working thread loop to make my first stitch. You can't see the stitches very well because I'm working dark on dark, but this is a lovely stitch. So again, I'm coming down the line, making my right hand stitch, looping round and going through the vertical stitch, and then looping round again and coming through the in between the forks of the V. If you're not sure about any of these stitches, they are in our December stitch guide, and I will link that in a card at the top of the screen so that you can go there and learn these stitches. So again, vertical stitch, round and underneath the vertical, and then round again and down through the V. So I'm just going to put in the rest of that line of palestrina stitch, and there it is up close. You can see the glitter coming through there with the thread, and I'm going to mirror it at the bottom. So I'm going to do the same stitch at the bottom, just at the bottom of the tree line. It's a nice chunky stitch, so it's going to hold those trees down. So I want to echo some of the gold that's in the red and gold ribbon, and I thought this one would be good for coral stitch. So this is my gold machine thread that I'm using here, and I've just taken 3 lengths of it and threaded them together in my needle. So I've sort of created a stranded thread. You don't have to have embroidery threads to do embroidery. You can use machine cotton. You just do multiple strands of it to get different thicknesses of thread. So coral stitch, we work right to left, lay our thread along the line that we're stitching, loop round to the right, and then make a vertical stitch across the line and make sure our needle goes above the loop of working thread. So I'm just going to work along with the gold there. So that's my line of gold coral stitch. I'm going to add in a few more lines of different stitches and then we'll come back. So here's the finished piece. I've put in some lines of various colours of thread. I've got some of the white shimmery thread in there. I've got the red, just echoing the colours that are in the fabrics that I've used. I'm quite pleased with it. I wonder if it's as striking as possible. This one's all about the texture and light because you can't really see the design until you move it. So this is going to be a good one for as you turn the pages of our Winging It book. So I've got some of that melted lame in there, and I love how different it looks to the flat lame. Loads of texture. I've got double knot stitch there. I've got Portuguese knotted stem stitch, that's the white thread. And I just think the shimmer is fabulous. Just done an extra layer of gold at the bottom just because the hill was bigger. So it's quite an abstract piece, quite different, very simple. If I just put it with the other panels from this page, you can see it's really shaping up to be a lovely sparkly glittery page. I think it's looking quite spectacular. It's definitely finishing with a flourish. I love the way that these lines of stitch are echoed from corner to corner. I think it works really well. So I really hope you've enjoyed this one. I thought we could all do with something quite simple as we're so busy getting ready for Christmas. So I hope you've appreciated that, but that you have some fun with it anyway. Do share your creations at #FSHWingingIt, and so we can see all of these together. You can also add #FSHWingingIt51. Now that means we only have one panel left in our Winging It project for 2022. And it's going to be a lovely festive sparkly piece next week, so I really hope you'll join me for that. If you have enjoyed this video, do give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. It really helps our channel and it helps other people find us and get started with embroidery. If you have enjoyed this video, I will link something similar at the bottom here, and I'll link a video up here that's best for you. If you'd like to subscribe, click on our logo at the bottom here. It makes it really easy for you. So have a great week, everyone. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week for our last video of 2022. See you soon. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.